For week 3, we are going to be working with multiple tables. So we'll still be using the select query, but to pull data from multiple tables, you are going to be using the join clause. And there's a lot of different types of joins that you can actually make between tables. So make sure you look through chapter 4 first, and then go through the key points. And what I've done in here is kind of summarize the different types of joins. And I included graphics so you can see how they work. Probably the most restrictive join is an inner join because depending on what column you join on, it's only going to return the data that's in both tables. And I should mention that typically you will join on the foreign key. So in one table, that means that the key that you are joining on is a primary key. And in the second table, it is the foreign key. Okay, so that's typically what you are joining tables on, and it will look for matching values in the two tables before it actually selects the row to display it in the result set. So that is what an inner join does. A left join automatically pulls in everything from the first table and then only displays the matching data from the second table. Okay, and right join kind of does the opposite. It pulls in everything from the second table and only the matching data from the first one. Full join pulls in everything. So when you set up your select, right after the from statement, okay, where you're indicating, where the columns are coming from, you will have a join type. And it'll either be a full join, a right join, a left join. If you just use the word join, it assumes inner join. Okay, and so you'll indicate what the join type is, and then you'll give the name of the second table. So table 1 is always the table that's directly after from, and table 2 is the one that is after the join type. Okay, and then you'll say on, which is a clause, and then you'll indicate the two columns that should have matching data. So again, typically this is the primary key in one table and a foreign key in another. Okay, that's usually what you are joining on. So I have all sorts of examples. And again, I kind of kept this graphic in here so you guys could refer to it. Here's an example. You can see that we are using the order in the customer table. Orders is table 1, customers is table 2. And then you can see that it's customer ID that we are joining on. So in the customer table, that would be a primary key. In the order table, that would be a foreign key. Okay, so here's another one. This one is a lot more complicated because as you can see, we're not just joining 2 tables, we are joining 3. And you can pull in data from any of those tables. Quite often, the column is prefixed with the table name. Now, do you have to prefix the column with the table name? Well, you only have to do that if the column names are the same. So in the order table, there's a column called customer ID. And in the customer table, there's also a column called customer ID. So in this case, yes, you do have to prefix with the name of the table. Otherwise, you don't know what customer ID you're referring to. If the column you're accessing is not in any of the tables that you are joining, but one, then you can just put the column in. For clarity's sake, a lot of times developers will put the table name in so you know exactly where that data is coming from, but it is not required unless that column name appears in multiple tables. So in this case, we have a multiple join. So table 1 is orders. Table 2 is customers. So it's going to actually do that join first. And then it will do the join on shippers. And so what it's joining, orders is always table 1. So table 2 is customers. And then in the second join, table 2 is shippers. So it's kind of, you could kind of envision it like this, where you're doing 2 different joins. Table 1 is orders. In the first one, table 2 is customers. In the second one, table 2 is shippers. And again, anytime you see this link where you can practice, it is always a good idea to go out and practice. And so this is an inner join, and you can run it. And so it's pulling in order ID from the order table, customer name from customers, and it's also pulling in the shipper name from the shipper table. And so this is 2 inner joins. I'm going to change this and so let's just do order and shipper. Okay, so these are the orders, these are the shippers. That's an inner join. Why don't we see if a right join works? I don't know if it's going to work in this case. Nope. And that's probably because there's a lot more orders than shippers. Let me try a full join. Nope. So like I said, it doesn't hurt to play around with this and just see what happens with the data. Let's join it on customers. I think it was customer name. And you'll notice I'm not prefixing here with customer and customers' names. And actually, I wouldn't have to on order ID either. You only have to put the prefix in when you have multiple tables with the same column name. Let's see. So we would be joining on customer ID. So I've got orders.customer ID is equal to customers.customer ID. So let's see if there's any customers that don't have orders. So to display all of the customers, we would do a right join. Let's see if this works. Nope. So this little system is not, it says it doesn't support right or full joins, but our SSMS does. So I'm going to pause this and launch SSMS. So I've launched SSMS, and I'm just going to copy and paste that little query in here. And they're using the Northwind database, which is a pretty famous database, and we also have it. I think it's Northwind without the S, but I'm going to check. Yeah. Okay. So let's go ahead and run this. Oh, it does not like customer name. Well, let me see what that is. Customers. Okay, so things are a little different online. Let's do company name instead. Okay. All right, so this is a right join. So that means that it's going to include all of the companies, even if they have not placed an order. And so here is one that has not placed an order. So when that happens, you're going to see null for the order ID because there is no corresponding row in the order table. And that is what I wanted to show you. So if we just did a left join, we would see everything from the order table and then the corresponding customers. If there was an order that didn't have a customer assigned, then under the company name, it would say null, but that would be highly unusual. I would expect that we wouldn't see that, but we can try. That really wouldn't be a very good business practice to have an order kind of sitting out there with no corresponding customer. I mean, that's basically what it means. And so I am not seeing anything that's null in our company column. A full join is going to basically pull in all the orders and all the customers. So it's going to pull in all orders, even if they don't have customers. It's going to pull in all customers, even though they don't have orders. So you will see more null values that way, okay, if you change it to full. Okay, so I just kind of wanted to show you the difference between these different joins because it's important that you understand how they differ. And so we'll come back over here. You're going to get plenty of practice using the different joins in the textbook assignment, and then you'll get some additional practice in the lab assignment. This just talks about assigning an alias to your tables, basically to shorten them. So if you're going to prefix all of the columns with the table name, you can use the alias instead, and it just saves you some typing. Okay, so this goes through all of the different types of joins. The self join is a little bit weird. It is joining a table to itself. Why would you ever do that? So one example might be you want to see in a company how many of the employees are managers or how many employees each manager has. They're all in the same table. That might be a reason to join a table onto itself. In this example, you want to see which customers are from the same city. Okay, and this is actually one that you can run online and test it out. Now, if you do a self-join where you are joining a table to itself, so you can see we've got customers joined to customers, then you do give it an alias so that you know which one you're referring to. Union. So if you're going to do a union, you basically have two separate selects from different tables. You're going to include the same columns in each of the selects, and then the union simply combines them. Okay, so here we're selecting city from customers and supplier, and then we're going to combine the results. Okay, if for some reason you wanted to see duplicates, because in a case where you're looking at cities, the chances of your customers and suppliers being in the same city is fairly high. So you would have duplicates. If you want to see those duplicates, then you'd use union all. Accept and intersect are kind of similar to union in how you set it up. You are selecting from two different tables. But the difference is intersect is only going to show you data that overlaps or that is in both result set. So if we were looking at cities for customers and suppliers and we choose intersect, it's only going to show us the cities that are in both. If you use accept, you are creating an exception. So basically, it's going to give you everything from the first select, but it'll take out the rows that match the second select. So in this little example, it's going to show us all the cities that are in the customer table, except these cities that have suppliers in them. So the cities that have suppliers are going to be removed from the result set. Okay, so here are just some additional examples. Probably the most important thing that you guys have to remember is that the column that you are joining on has to be kind of the same data. So that is typically a primary key in one table and a foreign key in another. So in this example, we're looking at employees and projects. Employee ID would be the primary key in the employee table. And employee ID is a foreign key in the project table. So we can join the tables based on that column. A cross join. So a cross join is also called a Cartesian product. This is something that you're going to run across in the certification exam. And basically what it does is it creates a table or a grid by combining the data from the two tables. So if table 1 has 10 rows and table 2 has 10 rows, the result set is going to have a 100 rows. Okay, you take the rows in table 1, multiply it by the rows in table 2. Table 1 has 2 rows, table 2 has 3 rows, you're going to end up with a result set of 6 rows. Okay, so it's always a multiplication. And there are lots of questions on cross joins or Cartesian products in the certification exam. So make sure that you understand that it actually is multiplying the rows. Implicit joins. So if you do something like this, if you do not use the keyword join or on, it is still doing a join. So if I say from vendors and invoice, comma invoices, where, and then I've got it matching on vendor ID, it is still doing a join. Okay, because it has to, otherwise it can't grab the data from both. But this is called an implicit join. Explicit join is what I normally do because you are totally controlling the type of join that is being done. And it's much more clear because you have the keyword join and the keyword on. Okay, so to make sure you understand joins, because they are super important and we're going to be using them throughout the semester, there are 2 assignments. There is a textbook assignment where there's videos for every single task, and you will be practicing all the different types of joins. Then, for additional practice, there is a lab assignment. And so I do have a video that explains the assignment and gives you some additional examples, but you're basically going to be coming up with your own joins. So you are going to create an inner join, and you're going to be using the tables that you have downloaded. Now, I have a lot more displayed in here because I still have student tables from last semester, and I've got my own tables. You're not going to have quite so many, but you can basically use any of the databases and the tables that you have to come up with an inner join. Just remember that when you're looking at these tables, and this video actually kind of goes through this with you, you should have a pub table from Northwinds. So if you are looking, and let's say maybe you're interested in authors. Okay, so author ID is a key. So you would have to actually find author ID in one of these other tables in order to do a join. So I would think the author might be connected to title ID, pub ID. So you have to figure out how these tables are connected. Title author. There's author ID. I could connect the authors and the title author. That would just give me the title ID though. Let me see what's in stores. Store ID. So you'll have to kind of look through here and figure out how you can connect these tables. What you might want to do is do a database diagram. Because that'll graphically show you how the tables are connected, and you can actually select all of them. And it may be a little easier to figure out which tables you can join and get information from. Like I can see right away that I can join stores and sales and grab data from both of those because store ID is in both. And then if I look through here, I can do, let's see, it looks like publisher and titles, I could easily join. Okay, so that is kind of my helpful hint of the day. If you do this, it's a lot easier to figure out how you can pull data from the multiple tables, because you have to have that primary key, foreign key relationship, right? That has to exist in order for you to pull data from both. So you'll be on your own coming up with several different types of joins, and you can see that I do have examples here. I do not expect you to do the exact same thing as the example, okay? They're just additional examples that you can look at, and you have lots of examples in the book, and you have lots of examples in the textbook assignment and in the lecture demo from the chapter. Okay, so hopefully enough examples for you guys to come up with your own. Once you are done with the lab assignment, you are going to submit it. You'll also submit the textbook assignment, and they are both going to be SQL files. Then you're going to do the unit quiz. And so the types of questions that you're going to see on this quiz are very, very similar to the certification exam, which means that the question types are going to be a little more difficult than what you're used to. So you can take the quiz 3 times, and your highest score is the one that is going to be used in the grade book. It is open book, open note. And you will know when you submit it if you got the question right or wrong. It's obviously not going to show you the correct answer until the test closes. Okay, so you will know if it's right or wrong, and then you can continue taking it up to 3 times. Okay. And then there's a little survey for you guys to fill out about how the class is going so far. As far as course resources go, at the end of the chapter, there are terms that I have defined for you. And then you can see that I have videos on the different things that we have covered so far that students have had questions about or found more difficult. Okay. If you run into any problems or if you have questions, please let me know, and have a great week.